So hi, and let's see this first part of Pygame and Sprites. So we are going to take a closer look to our sprites in Pygame, and let's start from scratch. Let's see how we can show sprites and move them, detect collisions. But first of all, we're gonna load the image, and so we are going to, after we imported Pygame as PG, so we will use PG instead of Pygame when we call the functions and the methods and the classes from Pygame module. And we also imported OS for some stuff that we're gonna make with the system. And so we're gonna load the image with sprite equal pygame.image.load, and where my image is in the cat folder, and the file is called idle one in parentheses .png, and then I just print the sprite, and you see that here you can see that is a surface object. It's 128 for 128 as dimensions, and so now let's show the image. So we create a screen surface with this Pygame or pg.display.set mode, and it's this window is 400 for 400. Then as we load an image, this time I changed the image and the folder, and it's an SVG because we can also load SVGs. And then to show it, to see it on the screen, we make a while loop. So this while loop will go on forever and until the loop is equal 1. So you see that here the loop is equal 0 because when we quit the window, the loop becomes 0, and so it will go out and quit the window. And to get when you press the quit button, that is the X in the window and at the right side of the screen on the window and on the right on the Mac, you have this for loop here for event in pg event.get. So event.get is a list of all the events that the user makes interacting with the window. So when you press something, this will be detected here and will be an event. So for each event, so if you press anything, etc., it will look for it and will do something eventually if you write something after this statement if event type. So if the type of event is that the one that you quit the window, with which the loop will go 0 and exit. And here we will put always the events like the click of the mouse or the key pressed into this for loop here to detect what the user does. After this, it will screen bleed sprite at 0, 0. So it will show up it will print every frame rate this sprite on the window. And then we'll refresh the screen with pg.display.flip to see it. So, but until now, you just will have one sprite like this on the window that is standing still. So to make him move, we have to do something. And so when we hit the key, so we said that inside this for loop we have to detect the key. So here we detect it, we close the window. So if we do, where is the window here? Well, any window, you know how it is, the X on the right side. And if instead the event type, it's not the quit of a window, but the event type is a press of the key, that is this pg.keydown. So pg is always the module Pygame, and keydown is a constant variable that is linked to the, when you press any key, you can detect it with this one thing. So if you press a key, means this print go on the console, and then it will continue to show the sprite on the screen at 0, 0. Let's go on. This is the full code. Create a window, load the sprite. As you load the sprite, this become a surface, and you can blit a surface on another surface because a screen is a surface. The main surface is the screen. Sprite is another surface that is, if you remember, 128 for 128. It's this cat here image. This is it. Is this? And yeah. So then in the while loop, so forever, it will blit the sprite at 0, 0 until you press the quit button. It will go out, or you press any key, other keys, and will print go on the screen. So now we want to do another thing. We want to group the sprites into a group because we can have animation. So if we don't want to use just one image for a sprite but more images so that we can show the images one after another, creating the effect of an animation, we can do this. We can create a class called sprite with a def init and self, and then this sprite has a superclass of Pygame that is called pygame.sprite.sprite that will give us some already done method to make something with the sprite. Then we will initialize the superclass with super .init, and then we will store the image in this image, and we will have self.rect. This will be needed to move our sprite equals self.image.getRect. It's the rectangle where the image is. After this, we will create a group with pg.sprite.group. Then we will create the sprite using this class. So we call this class, and it will create it. This do not does anything that load an image that will become a surface like before. The only difference is that now we have this image not in a variable but as an attribute of this class, of the instance of this class. So the instance of the class is sprite that calls sprite, and so now we can have access to the surface image with writing sprite.image, for example. So we have this sprite, and we add the sprite to the group that we created before here with g.add_sprite. So we can make many sprites into this group, and this will help us to make the program go faster. And this is not useful. And then we have the usual while loop where the image is constantly showed up at every frame. But instead of using a blit like before, screen.blit, instead of blitting this sprite on the surface of the screen, we will draw the group with all the sprites. For the moment there is just one sprite onto the screen. Okay, instead of blit, screen.blit, we have g, that is the group, dot draw, and as argument we have the screen where the group will be drawn. Okay, let's go on, and now let's see how to animate the sprite, because until now this is just standing still. So to do this, we have to load into the sprite. We will have a list. So when we call into this sprite class, we are adding a list here that I call animation as an attribute of this sprite instance. I remember, if you don't know it, that this self is a this self is a sort of placeholder for the name of the instance. So if you call this instance sprite and then you call the class here and make the instance of this class, then you can think that this sprite name goes here replacing the self. So we will have sprite animation, sprite image, sprite rect. And this is useful when you create more sprites, one for a player, one for the enemy, for example. And you can create the enemy with the same class. And you will have enemy equals sprite, and then you will have enemy.animation, enemy.image, enemy.rect. Okay, so we create this instance, and so we give to this sprite three attributes or variable. One attribute has the list the list of surface taken from every image in the folder cat. So cat is the folder where we have the images of the cat in the idle position. So when it's standing, it has not just one image, but it can have 8 images that are the animation of the cat. So now we have all the surface images into this list called animation. Then we have the image that will be showed actually, because just one animation at a time, just one image will be used for every frame or for every 5 frames, etc., depending on what you do with the code if you want to make it slower. So let's say that we have one image for every frame. So we start with animation 0. And so the image that you will actually see is just one, but it is part of more images that will substitute this one every frame in the update method that I will describe later on. And then we have self-rect equals self-image.rect. This will be useful to move the sprite. Okay, once we have done this, so now it's just the same as before. We just have a list of images here that have been loaded here with pygame.image.load because we need to load them, because the files need to be into this surface object. Okay, let's go on. The image is still standing still because we don't have any way to change this 0 here to make it go run through the list of images and show them one by one. It will always show the first one, the number 0, because arrays start from 0. Then we have let's see what happens here. Okay, we have the update method. So into the sprite class here, after the def init, we will add this other method that is def update, because functions inside classes are called method, but they are just functions, but they are inside of a class. Okay, we use this self account plus equal 1, so we will need to put another attribute to count the animations, because animation, so we said that the cat animation is made of 8 images, 8 or 9, so we need to increase the number to show the next one. So if self account equal len self animation, this one here is needed, because when we end the animation in it needs to return to 0 and to loop this animation cycle forever. So when it goes to the end, it returns to 0. If it's not at the end, and it will show the animation self account. So if it is 0, it increases to 1, and then will show the animation number 1. Then it will increase to 2 and show the animation number 2, to 3 and show animation number 3. So when you call update, this will increase each one you call update. But when you call update, you call it after you draw G on the screen in the while loop here. And so you draw the screen at line 7 here, then update it, and then you refresh the screen. So when another frame will be we go to the next frame, it will draw again G on the screen, and as the sprite now has increased the 1, it will show another image. Let's see what will happen from a standing image with this update method here that is called into the while loop, and the method is into the sprite class. We will have this. You see here, every frame it will move very fastly indeed. So to make it move not so fastly, you see it's very strange this movement. We need this clock object that is equal to pygame.time.clock, and inside the while loop we will put the clock dot tick to 30 frames per second. So let's see what happens. You see, now it's very more natural. So we want now to make the character here to do something when we press a key. So how can we do it? We go here and if event into the while loop, as you have seen before. When we quit the window, it will shut down the window. When you press a key, it will print go on the console. But we don't want to just print something. We want to make him do something instead of just writing something on the screen. So I created another method for the class sprite that is called change to work. So when we press right, it works. When you press left, it stands. When you press up, it will jump with this function. But where is this function? We need to create them. We need to create it, and we will put it in here. There it is. After update, I made this method change to self and the action. So when you call this function that is a method of the sprite class, you will do sprite.change to, and the action, for example, work, it will work because you will have here self action equal action, and then self animation, and the animation will be instead of the one to stand with idle, it will be the one the other images that starts with work or that start with run, because into the folder I will let me show them into the folder of cat. You see that each image has more images that start with run, for example. There are the animation of run. So when I load when I put this argument here work, and with sprite change to work, it will load the images of work here. So this I can make it I could make it faster, making something like so that I don't have to change maybe always this thing. I can make another thing like this. let me show you my last. If you want to make things go faster, you should load this one before, and you could do work equal sprite dot change to work, so that and here you can make jump equal to jump, and sprite will be idle here by idle. Let's do it this, so that we will just load this one time. So we will make if it's clear, right, work and self animation sprite dot animation equal work. Here we can make equal idle, and when it jumps equal jump. So what is the difference among this? That this will load every time the images. Instead, this one will just change the animation list with this idle that is yet loaded. So it should be, let's say, faster. Okay. So here I must put idle. Okay, jump states self sprite equal 1. Okay, now it's standing still. Okay, now line 26 non-type has no length because sprite animation. Okay. We need to index out of range. Self account 0. And let's see this. Maybe this account 0 we wanna put it here, sprite account 0, account 0, and account 0, maybe. So we run, stand, and jumps. Okay, now I think this is better for because we don't need to. Okay, and another thing that I want to check out is the work. If there is something like work get 10 thing here, I want to change the name here in a 01. 02. I could make a script, a better script, but zero 03, because if I don't put a 0 here, they will load these sprites in a bad sequence that will give, because it will put this number 10 here after the number 1. So the work is good. The idle, where is the idle? For hard idle has also this one has got 10 images, so or maybe to be faster I can just make this one as 9B. Let's do so. So let's see also this one. Okay, this I changed it. It's good. It is good. This one I can call it 9B. And 9B. Okay, and jump just goes to 8. There's no problem. Okay. Okay, now we won't have any other problems for animation. And so I will add this to the code, this new. So you see here we get all the way to do it, but this will change every time. So as I told you, it's not a good way of coding here to make them load every time, and we will lose a lot of time. So it's better to make this method here. We load once, and so we won't waste any time. So let's go on. Now to make him jump, apart from this self account that we changed it just now, we could make that when we to make him jump just one time, you could make this method here. When you press the key, when you leave the key, it will just go back to the first and the other position, but this it's not so good. I prefer to do another thing here. So let's see. Now you see that if you go on the right, it will work. On the left, it will stay. And if we jump, it will jump just one time. And if you run and jump, it Okay, now it jumps correctly because just one time, not forever, like when for the animation of the work of the idle, because I've put this jump state here, jump count and jump state, and also a work state, what these are for. So when I jump, press the key up, the jump state will go from 0 to 1, and then we'll show the animation, we'll load the animation for the jumping. Then if jump state is 1, it will start a counter, and this counter will goes up until 8, and it will practically make the sprite jump just for 8 times for the frame number of frames, and then it will go back to the work state or the idle state after it makes 8 just one animation. It will not loop forever because the jump state will go back to 0, and so it will not loop forever. This one, the animation will make the jump animation just once, and after that it will return to work or return to idle, and that's all. Okay, and so if we want to also make him go up and down, because in this version here it just shows the animation of the jump, but it not goes up. If you want to make you see here, makes a little jump. If it goes up, and what we have to do is to, when it jumps with the 8 frames, it goes up of 8 pixel up, minus plus, with using sprite.rect.y it goes up of 8, and then with sprite.rect.y it goes down of 4. So practically it goes up and down when it does the animation. You see, it goes up and then goes down back to its position. And so when the one is done doing the jumping, it will return to work or to idle. And so this is everything for the moment, and in the next post we will continue to see how to make this one effectively actually move into some kind of background, and eventually jumping some obstacles, some enemies, and things like this. Thank you.